Lee Camp, how are you, sir?
Hey man, how you doing?
I'm all right.
You all right? I'm sorry to hear about the glare issue. You got a future so bright. You got to wear shades, man.
I love it. I love glare. Glare's good. We should, I shouldn't glare shame. Um, I'm sun shaming is what I'm doing.
So no movement on the demonetization, huh?
Oh no, I got to click a button saying review, and then I got a form letter sent back saying we'll figure this out. We're going to look at this in a month. So I think there's a lot of exciting movement. It's so great that the monolith of Google has bequeathed me with the privilege of waiting a month for their final ruling. And I'm so honored. I hope that they at least let me dig through their garbage cans for food.
That's gonna be the next thing. They're gonna be like, your content was a bit aggressive, so we're closing our garbage cans.
If these guys could starve me out, they would. If they're like, your content's a little harmful, so we don't think you should be allowed to go to the grocery store.
No, and you're right. It's happening in more and more channels. Hard Lens Media was a little outlet that I've been on. They just got demonetized, which has completely decimated them. I got fucked, but it was unrelated to revealing government secrets.
Oh,
I got fucked by Patreon. And
well, congratulations.
Thank you. It was more just related to them being utter and awful douchebags than some sort of censorship. So I don't, because I have the TV show, I don't really collect money. We take in super chat donations, Eleanor and I do, for our live stream, but we donate them all and we talk about the causes every week. The only thing we have is this one Patreon that basically just brings in enough to fund the podcast. I mean, the podcast has no advertisers, has no sponsors. So we have a little thing for that. They pressured me recently to switch to monthly donations from the members. So I clicked it. Little did I know, it automatically and irreversibly, no matter what, takes your once a week donations, which mine were because we put out an episode a week, and turns them all to once a month donations. So it decreased all of the income by 75% instantly. And I got them to talk to me on their Twitter support thing because they have no phone number. You can't contact them other than Twitter support. And they went back and forth with me just going, yeah, well, we're sorry, but that's irreversible. Like they had absolutely nothing and no interest in helping me or anything. I mean, and that's on top of the fact that they're utter douchebags and that they take a very large percentage. I think it's hard to calculate because they make it complicated and convoluted, but they take a very large percentage. And so now I've stumbled upon this other site, Liberapay, LIBERAPAY, that is a French company that's nonprofit, and they take zero of your donations.
How do they cover their costs?
They have their own donation page to cover their costs. You can donate to them to keep them going, but they take zero.
Yeah, this is fantastic because I mean, like, I've been, Patreon's, decent platform for me and stuff like that. But I've heard of them deplatforming people because of content too. I've heard them doing that, and
I mean, it could have been intentional. It could have been that they started putting these pop-ups in that were like, you should take monthly donations, switch to monthly donations and everything. And it could be that they are doing that more on content that they don't like. So it's conceivable, but I don't want to accuse them of that. I just want to accuse them of being horrific, awful douchebag fucks.
Well, I support you calling them horrific, awful douchebag fucks.
You're always there for me, Graham.
Anytime you want to accuse anyone of being a horrific, awful douchebag fuck, count me in. I don't even want to know who they are. I just want to be.
He was like, I'm down.
I'm down. Let's do it. Who are they? I don't care. Call them out. Let's get them. Well, welcome to Government Secrets, episode 32. Beep, beep, pow, pow, Patreon pre-talk. Pow, pow, pow. So, yeah, I guess that's our censorship update. Now, this is. I feel like this, unfortunately, might overtake Leafgate in terms of a subject that runs through the most episodes.
That's true. It very well could overtake Leafgate.
What if, I'm just going to throw this out there. I don't want to get too conspiratorial, but what if Google deliberately smashed into my Leaf? Like,
I think you've actually this seems to be echoing in your skull, because I think you've proposed this in multiple episodes.
Yeah,
that your Leaf was intentionally taken out.
Yeah, by the deep state. I think the deep state went after my Leaf. They don't like electric cars because the deep state supports the oil lobby. They want me to be, I mean, that's one thing we've learned. The intelligence community will just hassle you, right? That's one way that they'll just make them always have some kind of problem so that you have to deal with, so you're distracted from being an activist or whatever. And I think that's what they try to do with my Leaf. And I think this is part of the Patreon shoving you to 1 month. I think it's all part of it.
It's all part of it, man. They also, I don't think they haven't brought or whatever reinstituted or brought back all of Panquake's accounts, have they?
No,
they banned all of Panquake's accounts.
Yep, I had Susie Dawson on the show last week, and they took out a bunch of Panquake accounts while also taking their color scheme and their donation, their subscription model.
Wait, what are they using the color scheme for?
Well, Susie Dawson told me they sent out our new Twitter subscription thing, and then it had the same like color scheme as Panquake, which is like, I thought you guys were blue, you know, the white bird under the blue background. What happened now?
Right.
Now it's like they're so threatened by it.
Wow.
That they're taking on.
And for those who don't know, Panquake could be if it's allowed to exist, a revolutionary Twitter competitor that would be open source and encrypted and free of corporate fuckery. But it's not even out yet, and Twitter is already crushing them.
That's right. Yes. It's so, and there's no advertisers, which is a big way. You know, when you have advertisers, it opens the door to, as you say, corporate fuckery. And they're, you know, it's a great I mean, we've talked about it. We've both been on their live stream, and, you know, you've had Bill Binney on your show. You know how smart he is. He's like one of the world's best cryptographers. He's involved in the design of it. So that must really rattle the deep state.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to do your segment first, or?
It's up to you. I got a good one. I mean, yeah. You know what? I'll do mine first because it has an anniversary. So there's a topical relation.
Yay! And a government secret anniversary.
I wasn't saying it in like a festive way, but okay, yeah.
Woo-hoo! Anniversary of evil, government secrets. Bing, doo, doo, boom, boom, boom. Right?
Oh God! Now I'm going to try and do the math quickly. Let's see, 46 plus 20, 66. It's the 66th anniversary of when we fucking decimated the Marshall Islands with nuclear bombs.
God. Oh, what a fun one.
The
evil empire destroying planet Earth.
Yeah, no, this one is, I mean, this one's got everything. It really does. So this is written, I'm going to be reading several quotes from Gary Condon, who wrote this for Popular Resistance on the anniversary, March 1st, 1954, of one of the biggest blasts. Now, as I'll mention in a moment, they did many blasts there, but this is the biggest one. March 1st, 1954, the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission and the Department of Defense exploded a huge thermonuclear bomb on Bikini Atoll. You know, these little areas of islands are called atolls. Bikini Atoll in the Marshall Islands, where they had been testing bombs since 1946. And between 46 and 58, They detonated 67 nuclear bombs in the Marshall Islands, vaporizing entire islands and exiling hundreds of people that lived there from their homes.
Boy, when I see beautiful tropical islands, the first thing I think about is let's bomb them into oblivion. Let's do it. Like,
yeah, I do. I mean, I understand where these military guys are coming from. They were like, how can we vaporize that? How?
I mean, why like go on a beautiful island and snorkel and surf or whatever and live off the land and fish when we could blow it to smithereens and speed up the annihilation clock?
Yeah, and also we can collect more smithereens. We love those.
It's great. It's fantastic. They really thought this through. They really had a long-term plan when they were like, let's blow everything up and have world dominance. They really thought for generations to come. They're so smart.
Very smart. Always thinking ahead.
Always.
Some of you might notice the name Bikini. One of the odd legacies of this testing, nuclear testing, was the introduction of the bikini swimsuit because of the Bikini Atoll. Now, this came from the French fashion designer Louis Reard. Is that pronounced? Hoped his new swimsuit sensation would cause the same reaction as when people first saw the mushroom clouds of the atomic bombs. So
wait a minute. He wanted people to be horrified that the human race could be wiped out. He
wanted their skin to melt off and them to run away screaming. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that seems odd for a swimsuit designer to have that desire that he was a like apocalyptic.
But isn't that the perfect analogy for just like American empire and capitalism and everything? Yeah, he wasn't American. He was French, but still, empire, capitalism. It's just like, oh, you know that thing people were like aghast and horrified by? I'll name my bathing suit after that. Hey, it's because it's like being able to see most of the tit.
We're just tricking people into, having women wear underwear on the beach and say that it's okay. But we want them to react as though they're witnessing the power of the Almighty that could wipe us off the face of the earth. I think it really, right. I see the connection. I really do.
I will defend him on one regard. There have been, and I'm sorry, this is gender normative, but there have been some chests I've seen that have made me think of the end of humanity. It's just that this is it. There's nothing better. There's no topping this. It's just, yeah. But anyway.
I'm a huge fan of the bikini. Always have been. And I don't know that I've ever had one cell of emotion that was similar to watching the planet get blown up in a test. I don't know. Maybe I'm not French, but
Graham, you are not a real man then.
When I go surfing and I see like a female surfer in a cute bikini, I'm like, oh, that's nice. I don't automatically think mushroom cloud.
Okay, fair point. Okay. So the designers of this particular bomb, this blast, was called Castle Bravo. The designers of Castle Bravo seriously miscalculated the yield of their device. They predicted it would yield between 5 and 6 megatons. A megaton is 1 million tons of TNT. Scientists were then shocked when the Castle Bravo device, quote unquote, produced an astounding 15 megaton yield, 1,000 times as powerful as the nuclear weapons dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. 1,000 times.
Why does this sound like kids that are like, hey, let's tie 3 M80s together and see what happens? And they don't, and then they like blow up their dad's shed or whatever. And they're like, we didn't know. Why is the military doing the same sort of thinking?
Because this world's run by fucking children. It took me a while to realize that. Like, I always thought that I was just younger and that these were adults running things, and I didn't really understand. I might have thought some of them were making mistakes, but I didn't really get it because I'm a child and they're adults. And it's like, and then you get there, you get to 35 and 40, and you're like, oh, they're fucking children.
They're idiots.
awful children.
Awful. I remember, this reminds me, doing this show and finding out what the ruling class, the powerful really are, reminds me of like, I was in high school and, you know, we were always told, don't go out, you know, don't drink and blah, 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 and respect your adults. And you looked up to adults and thought they were so much smarter. And my mom had some work party and she worked at a non-for-profit arts organization. And I went out with my friends and I was like, oh, I better get home. My mom's going to be mad if I'm late for curfew, right? And I get home and there's a fucking train wreck in our house. Everybody's drunk. They're like, woo, there's people dancing. Someone's like, some couple is like having an affair, like in our family. And then you know, and I go upstairs and I'm like, Jesus. And like some woman, I'm like 16 or whatever, in 40s. She's coming on to me way inappropriately. Like, this is creepy. Of course, my mom's like, ha, ha, ha. Like, no problem. Like, oh, thanks for getting my back. And like, if a 40-something-year-old guy did that to a 16-year-old girl, be like, somebody knock this guy out. But
end of days. It's like whenever you hear the story of a teacher getting with the student, if it's a female teacher, everyone's like, cool.
Yeah, it's like, no, still rape. Sorry.
Yeah.
And I go upstairs. I'm like, Jesus. And I just go upstairs to the bathroom. And then I come out of the bathroom. As I come out of the bathroom, some other work woman in her late 20s or 30s is coming up the stairs and she's like, I need you to get in there. And there's wine, nice wine. So there's literally, and I'm sorry to gross out the audience, purple vomit coming through her fingers. And I'm like, so I can't stay out late because I'm a kid who doesn't know what he's doing and I'm going to get myself into trouble. But the adults are just like Caligula, just sex and affairs and drunk and hitting on children and vomiting. Like, what? I'm bad. I need to be responsible. And I never drank in high school. I was an athlete. I never drank. I was more responsible than any of these idiots.
Right.
And that's how I feel about the Pentagon.
Yeah. Yep. That actually, I think you perfectly described the Pentagon on like a Tuesday.
Just vomit. Party. Bomb them. We don't care. Woo! Just like. Yep.
So to get back to how the Marshall Islands are doing, this fearsome blast, what's it called, Castle Bravo, resulted in massive radiation contamination in the Marshall Islands as far away as Guam, 1,200 miles away. U.S. authorities later cleaned up, quote unquote, contaminated soil on some of the atolls where it had been detonated. The bulk of its weapons test, they cleaned up the bulk of its weapons test, and where it had also conducted a dozen biological weapons, and dumped 130 tons of irradiated soil from the Nevada testing site. They brought it from Nevada to dump it there. It then deposited the atoll's most lethal debris and soil in a massive dome, which locals call the tomb. The dome is now at risk of collapsing from rising seas and other effects of climate change. As the nuclear testing occurred, the Marshallese were not informed of the potential dangers. Really? What do you think? A senator of the Marshall Islands Parliament, Jeton Anjan, I think, explained the effects of Castle Bravo. Quote, 5 hours after the detonation, it began to rain radioactive fallout on Rongelap. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong. The atoll was covered with a fine white powder-like substance. No one knew it was radioactive fallout. The children played in what they called snow, and they ate it. And this is actually sounds a lot like what Stephen Donziger described of Chevron's destruction of the Amazon in Ecuador, where they intentionally dumped, toxic excess and toxic pollution from their oil drilling in the Amazon. And when the indigenous asked what it was, these black tar pits of just the most toxic shit you could imagine, they would tell the indigenous that it was no problem. And when when the indigenous would find it in their water, the Chevron employees, Texaco employees would say, those are like vitamins. They're good for you. It's very similar. Like, oh, indigenous are just fucking animals and just let them believe whatever and they should die. And we're going to go about our horrific either testing of nuclear weapons or exploiting oil resources, etc.
If I was president, I'd wipe all these executives and these generals out. I would just take them out. I would literally, like, no trial, no investigation. I would do it old school.
By just feeding them, I think you should just feed them a glass of their own radioactive detonation debris.
Yeah. Read this. Here's some fracking fluid to wash it down with. You soulless monsters. And then I would, as Whitney Webb suggests, catapult them into the sun.
Yeah. Yeah. I listen, giant catapult. I'm all for giant catapult. Really am.
Giant catapult 2024.
Yeah, totally.
God, I mean, I'm so torn because I really love doing this show, but I just like hearing these stories every week. It's like, wow, we're worse than I thought. We're worse. It's evil. America's way worse. We have a history of horrific evil shit just at every turn. Like,
I like doing the show a lot. I really don't want to break you as a human being, though. I really don't want to be responsible for the end of Graham Elwood.
Well, here's the thing. Another fantastic piece of parenting my folks did when I was a kid. We lived in Germany for a year when my dad had a research scholarship. He had a Fulbright. He was a college professor. And they took us to Dachau. And my oldest sister was 14, probably a good age to learn about that. My other sister was 11, maybe a little young, but okay. My brother was 9. That's definitely too young. I was 6. So at age 6, I was like, oh, so humans are awful, right? Like the human race is horrible.
Right.
Don't trust anyone in power. Don't trust any organization. That's why I don't trust any organized. I've been a part of some organizations and I've seen some good work in some of them. I'm an American Red Cross volunteer, but like as an institution, I'm so skeptical of anything because
individually people are wonderful. Groups of people are horrifying.
They're horrifying. I mean, they even say it like you get a mob together, their IQ drops. Like, so, I mean, this is so my point is, Lee, don't feel bad. You're not breaking me. I was broken before age 6.
Oh, age 6. Okay, good.
Yeah. I was just like, oh, this is okay. Humans are horrible. Thank you. What am I doing on this planet? What's the purpose of this life? So anyway,
until I was, you know, early to mid 20s, I thought that these horrific things would happen, but they were largely unintentional.
Yeah.
Like the level of intention has kind of blown me away, or the level of, well, yeah, this may cause a lot of these indigenous people to die of radioactive poisoning, but you know, that's okay. Like that level of, I didn't think humans could be like that. And it really shocked me. Now it doesn't, it sadly doesn't shock me anymore. It still infuriates me, but it doesn't shock me.
Yeah, I think with some of this atomic testing, I felt similar. Like, oh, they just didn't know what they were doing. You know, they didn't know. They were like, oh, let's test it. And then later, like, oh no, maybe this was too bad. Or no, they knew. They didn't give a shit. They deliberately did it. They destroyed people's lives and their homes, and I'll feed it to the indigenous people and poison the oceans, because it's not like marine life is totally interconnected. So we're good.
Right. Yeah. It's not like we're part of the environment. It's like we can just destroy whole swaths of the world, and that's fine because we're a separate thing that just rules over everything.
Yes.
So To continue from Gary Condon's article, many Marshallese have suffered from forced relocation, burns, birth defects, and cancers. Researchers have conducted numerous studies on the health effects of nuclear tests conducted by the U.S. in the Marshall Islands. In 2005, the National Cancer Institute reported that the risk of contracting cancer for those exposed to the fallout there was greater than 1 in 3. Many adults developed cancerous thyroid nodules 2 or 3 decades after the testing ended. In 2010, the National Cancer Institute suggested that up to 55% of all cancers in the northern atolls are a result of nuclear fallout. The crimes of the U.S. include the natives' deliberately premature resettlement on contaminated islands, meaning they told natives who had been moved off it's fine to go back, even though they knew it wasn't fine. So that their crimes conclude that, and the cold-blooded observation of their reaction to nuclear radiation, not to mention U.S. denial and avoidance for as long as possible of any responsibility for what it did. So they basically know they're exposing these people to radioactivity, especially after they accidentally underestimated Castle Bravo. And rather than tell them, you got to get the fuck out of here, we will pay to bring you all, to other areas. Not that that makes their lives happy, but it's better than dying of cancer. And rather than doing that, they basically were like, oh, this is a good chance to study what nuclear radiation does to people. So this is great. And just to conclude here, previous classified documents reveal that the U.S. performed dangerous experiments on some Marshallese to learn how radiation damages the human body. March 1st, the date of the Castle Bravo detonation, is a national holiday in the Marshall Islands. It is called Nuclear Victims Remembrance Day, or just Remembrance Day. So these people have not, they largely have not, the U.S. has not made things right with the people in the Marshall Islands. And they continue to try and demand it, but they are a tiny population that the U.S. just thinks, fuck them. And, the cleanup is not complete. This dome that they call the grave or the tomb or whatever is on the verge of collapsing, and the U.S. should be dealing with that. So really the U.S. owes these people so much.
I mean, I'm sure there's no connection to a bunch of people being sadistic, like blow the island up and then let's let them go back so we can monitor how radiation affects them. I'm sure that has nothing to do with Operation Paperclip, where we rescued Nazi scientists and put them in charge of our nuclear weapon program, right? I mean, there's no way there's a connection there. These evil sadistic fucks that committed this horrific Holocaust that literally would throw twins, torture one twin and see if the other one felt it, kind of evil shit that the Nazis did. It's weird that if you brought that type of raw, pure evil into your space and military program, that then they would continue to do it under the auspices of research and justice and American pie.
Coincidence, correct. Coincidence.
Yes. Total. Okay, good. Yes, total coincidence. All right.
Yeah, no, and it also shows you've got to be somewhat evil to begin with to think, oh, these guys were only responsible for the most horrific crimes human beings have ever clearly committed. I mean, equivalent to. I'm not saying the Nazis were the first, but equivalent to the most horrific things humans have done, and they'd be great for our program. To think that in the first place. You've got to be fucked.
Yeah, I mean, have we done that anywhere else? Hey, those guys that did the Rwandan genocide, we could use some of their brain power. They might have a little something to, hey, did they go, that Jeffrey Dahmer, maybe the space program could use him.
Listen, he's got, not the greatest guy, but he's got ideas. There's ideas there.
Old ideas. I mean, there's some sustainability stuff we could learn from him.
At the very least, recipes.
Recipes? Recycling? I mean, really, he did a lot of good stuff. I'm just saying.
Listen, what to do with leftovers? The guy's got ideas.
Christ. We have to laugh about this because it's so horrific. I don't know what else to do.
I think you have to. I mean, you've got to laugh and obviously try and change it at the same time. And obviously, we're both very involved in trying to make people aware, but also change the way we behave and the way what humans value in this world, what we stand up for. So I think you can do both those things at the same time, because I think if we don't laugh, then this all becomes too much and people just either turn off or stop giving a shit, or drive their car into a bridge abutment, one or the other.
I didn't think I was going to hear bridge abutment in this. I really, be honest, I didn't. I'm glad, because you don't hear bridge abutment enough. It's just like, oh yeah, all right. I like a civil engineering.
One of the joys of my every week is the fact that I say words that you're like, I didn't expect to hear that this week.
Just because it's so, you could just say a guy's just going to drive his car into his wall and kill himself. No, a bridge abutment, a very specific way of taking yourself out. A very specific piece of municipal infrastructure.
See, and I didn't think I was going to hear municipal infrastructure. So we're feeding each other. It's great.
It's like Jordan and Pippen. I don't know. I've been watching The Last Dance.
This is Jordan and Pippen right here.
Folks, put in the comment section what type of municipal infrastructure you would kill yourself in.
Listen, folks, we're taking a vote. If you were going to drive your car into some piece of municipal infrastructure, which one would it be?
Would it be a bridge abutment? Boom. Would it be? Would it be? Oh, I'm trying to think of more like civil engineering terms. I'm not that skilled in that area, but let us know in the comment section, folks, which piece of
we listen, folks, we lack imagination when it comes to municipal infrastructure that would be good for killing yourself. And we need your help. We need to crowdsource this information, which is crucial right now. How about being dropped onto like a spire of a bridge, some sort of bridge infrastructure?
Oh, spire. Way to go. Outstanding. Like that's perfect. A spire. I barely know what that means, but it's it's so great.
So you could get, you get one of those squirrel suits, the squirrel suits, and you jump off of a nearby mountaintop or hill or something, and you impale yourself on the spire just above the ornate lattice work of a bridge infrastructure.
I don't know. I think ornate lattice work could also be something you could put in there as a place to kill yourself. Smash yourself into the ornate lattice.
I'm not sure how you would do that. Maybe just rub your face against it long enough,
really fast,
that you break through. But like a cheese grater. It's kind of a cheese grater situation.
It doesn't have the quickness of the spire or the abutment, but it still could get it done. I don't know. I'm open to however the audience votes.
I mean, I suppose if you hit it at a great enough speed, you would go through it like Play-Doh through the spaghetti one you could choose, the spaghetti filter.
The spaghetti filter. Yeah, the Play-Doh spaghetti filter. Yeah. Got it. Oh my God. Well, folks, I hope we're learning a lot about municipal infrastructure.
Oh.
All right.
So we're moving on to a more, I'm sure, a more upbeat topic.
Oh, speaking of islands we've tried to ruin, I'm going to share this. I did you texted me today and said, what topics do you want to talk about? And I thought about it, and I looked at like this and that, and then when in doubt, if I don't already have something in place or something in research, when in doubt, I literally just typed in operation. And here's what we found. I'm going to share this on the screen for everybody.
For Christmas, I'm going to get you the board game Operation. the little tweezers and
Operation Mongoose. I didn't know much about this one. The Cuban Project. Now, we've always sort of we've mentioned Cuba just on the like laundry list of countries that that we've messed with. The Cuban Project, also known as Operation Mongoose, was an extensive campaign of terrorist attacks against civilians and covert operations carried out by the CIA in Cuba. It was officially authorized on November 30, 1961 by President Kennedy. So he's, 10 months into being president, and they forced this on him. Not to excuse what he did, but
yeah, well, and also, as we've discussed before about Kennedy, he had a very clear shift over the course of his presidency. Like, he didn't start out as like Mr. Peace-loving dove. So,
yeah, I mean, absolutely, he was named in the Pentagon Papers and stuff But you're right, and I think my guess is that it's stuff like this, like the Bay of Pigs, which is a part of Operation Mongoose here. Had been agreed prior to a White House meeting on November 4th, 1961. The operation was run out of Jim Wave, a major secret U.S. covert operations and intelligence gathering station established a year earlier in Miami and led by the Air Force General Edward Lansdale on the military side and William King Harvey. Really? William King Harvey, head of the CIA. Got it. And it went into effect after the failed Bay of Pigs invasion. Mongoose was a secret program against Cuba aimed at removing the communists from power, which was a prime focus of the Kennedy administration. A document from the from the Department of State confirms that the project aimed to help Cuba overthrow the communist regime, including its leader, Fidel Castro, and it aimed for a revolt which can take place in Cuba by October 62. U.S. policymakers also wanted to see a new government with which the United States can live in peace. So,
well, they wanted to get back to the old government that they had already been exploiting Cuba with. It was like the second Las Vegas down there.
Oh yeah, that's what they wanted. We wanted the guys that let us do casinos and corruption and just let business people come in and do whatever they want. It's like that scene in Godfather 2 where they're like, we have from the gaming and entertainment, we have the telephone people, we have this evil guy and that evil guy. And
it was a standard U.S. puppet state until their revolution.
Yeah. So one of the things they did is the propaganda offensive employed the use of radio broadcasts and leaflets to be passed around. This measure was solely aimed at propagating support for the provisional government. The CIA's budget estimated for the covert operation was approximately $4.4 million back in 1961 to hand out leaflets.
Which, must have been a shit ton of money back then.
That's a lot of money. The paper signed by Eisenhower was also the sole report issued by the government throughout the entire project. So, like, again, the prior president did it as well. It's really to secure needed financial backing, the Bender Group was developed as an organization that would provide American business in a secret avenue through which to trade with Cuban groups. So, as we talked about, much of it was just for business leaders. It's just money. It wasn't, and they always, it's freedom. And obviously, sure, we didn't want, and then they had to do the missile crisis. We didn't want missiles in Cuba, although we can put missiles that close to anybody else, but no one can put them that close to us.
Right. We can have missiles on Russia's border, but they put them near us. And
again, I think this goes to your point of how Kennedy slowly changed. A lot of this stuff was put in place in the spring of 1960 before he was elected. He was elected in November of 1960.
Yeah.
So a lot of this stuff came into place, the base of operations being established. This is talking May 11th in 1960 is when the Bender Group came into position. And then March through August of 60, the CIA had plans aimed at undermining Castro and his appeal to public by sabotaging his speeches. The schemes thought up were aimed at discrediting Castro by influencing his behavior and by changing his appearance. One plan discussed was to spray his broadcast studio with a compound similar to LSD. This is what tax dollars on. but was scrapped because the compound was too unreliable. Another plot was to lace a box of Castro cigars with a chemical known to cause temporary disorientation. Like, insane. The CIA's plans to undermine Castro's public image went so far to even line his shoes with thallium salts, which would cause his beard to fall out.
They also, I mean, maybe it was late, maybe it was a year or two later, I don't know, but they also, there's a long list of ways they tried to kill him. That they literally tried to do exploding cigars. They literally, they knew he was a big scuba diver, so they tried to gift him like a scuba suit that had like poisons within it, so he would put it on and die from the scuba suit. And each of these things either went wrong or they scrapped him at the last minute or whatever. But there was a long list of ways they tried to kill Fidel Castro. And also in terms of the terrorist attack, I mean, first of all, we should just address the fact that this is not deniable anymore. No one denies this went on. And this is, we're reading from Wikipedia, which is now just a neoliberal garbage history, but a lot of it they can't deny. They can't deny this shit happened. And so literally the U.S. was involved in terrorist attacks of innocent civilians in Cuba, which makes us a terrorist state, like that is state-funded terrorism. I mean, you can't deny it. And they had also considered, it was called Operation Northwoods, and I think we maybe at least mentioned it before on the show. It was the Joint Chiefs had a plan to terrorist attack, to put bombs like in Florida and take out innocent American citizens, and then say Cuba had done it to give us justification to invade Cuba. And it got all the way to Kennedy's desk, and he was horrified by it and said no. Well,
there's no evidence that we've ever done that since. So, I mean, this is the thing that's so insane of like, you have to like, you just ask the questions of like, hey, 9/11, just ask that question. And it's like, well, there is the history of this. I mean, we haven't ever talked about the government, the evidence to suggest that FDR knew Pearl Harbor was happening and pulled people out of Hawaii. I mean,
yeah, there is some good evidence that we kind of knew Pearl Harbor was coming, and but FDR needed a reason to get involved in World War II. Like,
yeah, we didn't want to get involved, so he pulls all of the senior, officers out of there. I mean,
and left all the planes sitting out on the tarmacs in a manner that they rarely did. Like,
yeah. So this doesn't surprise me. And then you hear about the crazy stuff. I mean, they wanted his beard to fall out. So like, so what was the thinking? If Castro, so we put this salt in his boot and then his beard falls out and then he loses his power. What, like Samson? Like, what happens if he loses his beard? He still can't talk. They want him high, so he says crazy stuff during his radio addresses. Like, what are they trying to do? It's just madness. Like, and again, using American tax dollars for this ridiculous operation.
Yeah, and why? What threat was Cuba to us? It was none other than the fact that it wasn't a capitalist state anymore. It wasn't our little playground anymore. I mean, there's no reason, and this goes for now. I mean, now, fucking generations and decades later, we're still butthurt over Cuba. It's like, fucking get over it, shitheads, and let them have their own society. And instead, we're still trying to crush them in one form or another.
I know. We can't handle it. We just go, and then we're still grinding some axe against them. It's like, when I really want to see how America would react if other countries tried to do to us what we do to them and try to tell us how to live. Like, how would we? And we just force it all over the planet. I mean, it's unbelievable to me.
Yeah, like I always wonder that when Iran shot down our drone that they said was over their airspace, and the U.S. was like, it wasn't over your airspace. It was 1 mile, 1 mile from your airspace, and you can't believe you shot down our drone. And it's like, imagine if Iran had a drone either over our airspace or 1 mile from our airspace, like in Mexico on the border, there were Iranian drones. How would we respond if we were surrounded by Iranian bases or Russian bases or Chinese bases, the way Iran has been surrounded by U.S. military bases? I mean, we would fucking lose our goddamn minds.
Yeah. We would go nuts if there was Iranian bases in Mexico and Iranian warships going through the Gulf and the Caribbean. I mean, give me a break. Like, we would go fucking bananas. We would go insane. If there was Chinese warships off the California coast, we would go bananas. We would go fucking apeshit. And yet we do this all over the world, and we say it's for peace and freedom. It's the worst. This country is the worst. It is a dumb fucking evil bag of fucking rotten toilet paper.
Oh, it's the worst when toilet paper goes bad. It really is. You know, just past the expiration date when toilet paper turns on you. Oh, it's just gross.
It's really horrible. It's really horrible. I mean, I'll read a couple more things from this if you'd like.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the screen share. Let's see. Robert Kennedy. So when Kennedy met with everybody on November 21st to talk about Operation Mongoose, after they'd already done all this crazy shit, Kennedy stressed the importance of immediate dynamic action to discredit the Castro regime in Cuba. He remained disappointed from the failure of the Bay of Pigs invasion just a few months prior. By the end of November, President Kennedy had finalized details for Operation Mongoose. Lansdale remained in charge of the operation, and access to knowledge of Operation Mongoose remained strictly confidential and limited. As was common throughout the Kennedy presidency, decision-making would be centralized and housed within the secret special group. At this time, Operation Mongoose was underway. So here's what they, where is this? Hold on. The task force, the White House division organized Branch 4 as the task force to run the Cuban operations. The task force included 40 personnel, with 18 at headquarters and 20 at the Havana station and 2 at the Santiago base. The State Department was concerned that if Castro were overthrown, then the people to come after him would be worse than him, primarily Che Guevara and Raul Castro. So they proposed a way of getting a better leader that they approved of in his place. The CIA began to worry that their involvement with the anti-Castro movement would lead to an anti-U.S. movement. On March 14th of 1960, Dulles, he keeps coming up again. Dulles is always,
he does.
He's like a recurring guest star.
Have you noticed we name our biggest airports after like fucking war criminals, and we give the biggest monuments to fucking horrible human beings, or we give them holidays like Columbus Day?
Yep. Who we've covered on this show is very evil, the original Epstein. By his own words, by his own journal, Columbus is an evil person.
I think you were going to say by his own journal. He called himself the original Epstein.
That was the name of his book. So Dulles presented a general covert action plan for Cuba that would focus only on the Cuban problems. Guerrilla capacity in the anti-Castro groups both in and out of Cuba was discussed. Like, they had the Anti-Castro Revolutionary Council, consisting of a group of Cubans, released a press statement at a conference in New York. The press statement announced the unification of forces against Castro and outlining their platform of their mission. Doesn't this sound eerily, creepily similar to Juan Guaido? They must be, here are the prerequisites to be those recruited and enlisted by the CIA. They had to be pro-Western, anti-communist, politically neutral, and capable of gathering other Cuban support. Specifically, goals were identified for Cubans onboarded in the Cuban opposition front. The principal goal is to restore the 1940 Cuban Constitution. The Cuban opposition front's purpose can be summarized as: 1, to act as a beacon to attract other anti-Castro groups, to serve as a scapegoat in case covert operations were discovered.
I know how that's my question for all these fucking idiots that become U.S. puppets like Juan Guaido and all these tools. Do they not think the U.S. would turn on them in the moment that it becomes useful to the U.S. to do anything else? Like the moment it's better that once they find someone better than Juan Guaido, Juan's gonna be fucking, you know, castrated in the town square. Like, they don't give a shit.
I know. I mean, look at Saddam Hussein. The CIA worked with him in the Iraq-Iran war in the early 1980s.
And Gaddafi.
And Gaddafi. Yep. I mean, like, if the CIA knocks at your door, just go, oh, I'm good.
You know what? I'm good. I just ate. I'm fine.
Yeah. In less than 16 years, you're going to sell me down the river. So I'm out, but thank you so much. Like,
yeah. Thank you. No, that does sound like a lot of money, but even so, I don't want to be fucking stabbed through the jugular in 5 years. So I'm going to hang out here. Yeah.
Thank you so much. As much as I'd like you to hang me in my own living room and say it was a suicide, I'm just going to go at every turn. There's so much stuff. So during this time, the CIA made a list of potential guerrilla fighters within the Cuban provinces. There were 7 groups consisting each of anywhere between 180 and 4,000 possible defectors. They consisted of political prisoners and guerrillas that the CIA believed could be convinced to enlist in operations against Castro in response to the Soviet Union's increasing amount of weaponry, as well as a growing influence of the Communist Party in Cuba. As early as June 1960, there were 500 Cuban exiles being trained as paramilitary members in order to execute the Bay of Pigs invasion. God.
Right. And as we, just a quick refresher, as we covered in the Kennedy episodes, the Bay of Pigs, the military really knew that the Bay of Pigs would fail. I mean, you're sending 500 dudes onto a beach against a whole country. Right. And the odds they were going to successfully like take over the country were like practically nothing. But the military wanted to entice Kennedy into a full-on U.S. invasion, or at least a partial U.S. invasion. And they thought that once these people get caught on the beach and it's basically, you know, you have no choice, that Kennedy would be pushed to invade Cuba and bomb Cuba. And he didn't go for it once they were caught. And it made Kennedy look terrible in the media and everything, that he approved the Bay of Pigs, but then allowed these 500 or whatever the ultimate number was to be, you know, just caught in Cuba and imprisoned or killed. And but he didn't go for it. He turned down the invasion, which the Pentagon thought he'd have no choice but to do.
Yeah. It's funny too, like we could do a whole episode just on all of the CIA operations that were designed to trick a president into going into war. I mean, right. Like, oh, he'll fall for this for sure. And it's like Kennedy, I think this is what Kennedy's brilliance was. He saw it. He knew it. He knew that they were playing him. I mean, he even said in interviews like, oh, these generals will have me killed. You know, like there's people that want to kill me if I do this, if I back off the wars too much and stuff like that. And he really tried.
By the way, you and I haven't addressed it, and I know our time is up, but we haven't addressed it. But I saw you tweeted about it that we're now in a time, I'd say the past 5 years, where 5 to 10 years, where people are really like, oh, it's just overwhelmingly obvious that Kennedy was executed by the CIA combined with maybe other forces, but CIA involved. And yet suddenly some former CIA guy comes forward and says like, oh yeah, Russia did it. And you're like, why would we ever fucking believe this? Yet there was all this mainstream media coverage about former CIA agent reveals Russia did it. Like,
and what was Russia's motivation?
To cause a nuclear war that killed everyone.
Yeah, that was their motivation.
That was their goal.
Back channeling peace talks with them, but Russia really wanted to end the world. Yeah. That makes total sense. Boy, that sounds like right out of Rachel Maddow's playbook. It's fantastic that this stuff keeps getting revealed and then Americans don't wholesale revolt. I just don't understand. When are Americans going to wholesale revolt? When is that? Like, it's never going to happen. We keep waiting for this day when Americans are going to be fed up, and they're just going to keep going along and going along and going along. Like,
when they stop sending the $1,400 checks, I think.
Yeah. I mean, when Americans are so hungry, so it feels like, I mean, I thought everything was going to collapse before the election, like full on collapse. The economy was going to collapse and there's just going to be crazy. And it didn't happen. And I was like, the other option is that if Biden wins, America just limps along.
Well, I think it's not talked about enough, but I think the reason things have not collapsed, part of it is these massive infusions of, trillions of dollars that we're doing. Granted, most of that's, given away to Wall Street and shit. But I think the bigger reason is that, and I believe it was a Goldman Sachs memo that leaked out years ago, like 5 or 10 years ago, that said we're now a plutonomy, not just a plutocracy, which is ruled by the wealthy, but a plutonomy, meaning the economy, the bulk of the economy is what rich people are doing with their money. It's like the bottom 50 or 40% of America, the amount they're buying and spending just isn't that influential anymore in terms of our quote unquote economy. And so therefore, as long as the rich are happy, which the rich are very happy right now, as long as the rich are happy, you can kind of keep inflating the bubble. So if it is true that it's a plutonomy, then even though everybody is struggling in a crazy way right now, 1 out of every 3 Americans is having trouble paying bills. It's not collapsing because the rich are still doing fine.
But let's get mad at people like you and me and Jimmy Dore for calling it out. Let's do that. Let's keep.
Yep. We're the true villains. Yep.
It's unreal. Well,
there it is.
There it is. Government Secrets, episode 32. Put it in the books. Boom. More operations. Well, right on, everybody. Hit the like button, share, subscribe. If you are new to Government Secrets, Lee puts it on his channel on YouTube. I put it on mine. We're both on Rockfin. So follow either one of us if you don't. And then if you're listening to this on, iTunes or Spotify or something like that, give it a positive review and share it and all that stuff like that. Right.
And we mentioned a lot of previous episodes. So if you are new to this podcast, go back and check the earlier ones, because although we may mention something topical, almost everything we do is evergreen. So they make for good listening. Yeah.
There's a million operations and projects in the other 31 episodes that are anything that's got operation or project in it. We know it's going to be a great GovSeek. We just know it. All right. Well, Lee, where can people watch and enjoy your gloriousness?
Yeah, all my stuff's at leecamp.com. A brand new episode of Redacted tonight came out the other night on how to end homelessness right now. I also have another podcast called Common Censored, and I put out live stream videos as well. And all of it is at leecamp.com.
Outstanding, folks. I do my show, The Political Vigilante. I've been completely demonetized on YouTube. So I stream there and I post like 1 clip a day on YouTube, but the bulk of my content is at rockfin.com/Graham Elwood. I have a bunch of free videos there. It's free to sign up. And then there's premium content as well. So please watch and check me out over there and donate to what we're doing since we've been demonetized at GrahamElwood.com. That's it, Lee.
Boom.
Boom. Government Secrets F32. Done. Close it down.
All right. Thanks, man. Have a good week.
All right, buddy. I'll see you next week.
See you soon.
Bye.